Welcome to the Funeral Channel Network podcast, and welcome to the deep dive.
It's good to be here.
You know, we spend so much of our time on this show unpacking these massive systems that run our world.
We do. Macroeconomics, global supply chains.
Exactly. We look at history through a telescope. But today, I want to do something a little different.
Okay.
I want to put down the telescope and pick up a microscope. I want to zoom in. All the way in on something that seems incredibly small.
The mundane thing.
It's a mundane thing. Something you probably don't think about until the moment it is suddenly the heaviest thing you're holding in your hands.
It is usually those things, isn't it? The objects that just blend into the background until grief or necessity brings them into sharp focus.
Exactly. Today we are talking about a piece of paper.
The piece of paper.
Specifically the funeral program. And before you, listening, reach for the skip button thinking we're about to discuss stationery trends for an hour, just stick with me.
Please do.
Because this is not just about paper stock or, font choices. This is about the intersection of grief, complex logistics, technology, and user experience design, all happening in a pressure cooker.
It's a fascinating topic. It really is, because it's a physical object that carries a psychological weight that's completely disproportionate to its mass.
That's a great way to put it.
You hold it in your hand, and technically it's just paper and ink. But in that moment, in that specific room, it represents an entire human life.
Yeah.
It represents the final punctuation mark on a story.
We obsess over the flowers at a funeral. We agonize over the eulogy, and rightly so. Words matter.
Of course.
We worry about the music playlist. But we rarely think about the program until we're the ones sitting at a dining room table, usually late at night, trying to figure out how to sum up a person's entire existence in a folded booklet.
And that is the crux of it. It's not just a schedule. It is an artifact. Yeah. And the stakes are, they're surprisingly high because these items linger. They have a shelf life that far exceeds the service itself.
They do. I was cleaning out a drawer the other day and found one from maybe 5 years ago. I couldn't throw it away. It just felt wrong.
Most people can't. They end up tucked inside family Bibles.
Right.
They get put in memory boxes. They sit on mantelpieces for decades. So the decision on what that document looks like and feels like and how it functions, it carries more weight than many families realize when they are in the thick of that initial shock.
So here is our mission for this deep dive. We have a massive stack of information here. We've got industry insights, design principles, and some very, very practical in-the-trenches advice.
A lot to get through.
And we're going to look at a specific debate happening in this world right now. It's about the rise of the big booklet. Specifically, that 8.5 by 10 magazine-style program.
Oh, it has absolutely become the default setting for a lot of families. It's the trend.
It's the trend, and we need to ask, is that actually the best choice? Or have we just, drifted into it because we assume bigger means better?
A very important question.
We're going to look at the aesthetics versus the logistics. We are going to go deep, and I mean deep, into the absolute nightmare that is DIY printing.
A place where many brave souls have faltered.
We're going to look at the environmental impact, and we're going to look at the user experience, if I can even use that term, of actually holding one of these things during a service.
Which is a perspective we almost never consider.
Mm.
Not until we're the ones holding it, sitting in a pew, trying to manage a purse, a tissue, and a 12-page booklet.
Right. So let's move from assumption to intention. Let's start with the absolute basics. What is a funeral program actually for? Because looking at the source material, it seems like this single document is having a bit of an identity crisis.
It really is.
It's trying to do 3 different jobs at once.
It is, and that is exactly where the tension comes from. If you're designing a product, you usually have one primary use case. Here you have 3, and they're all fighting for real estate on the page.
Okay, walk us through them. What is job number 1?
So first you have the guide. This is its utility function. It's the order of service. Who is speaking? What song is playing? Who are the pallbearers? It is essentially a script for the event. Its only job is to tell people what is happening next so they feel comfortable and oriented.
Okay, so that's the functional layer. It's the instruction manual for the funeral.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And an instruction manual needs to be clear, right? It needs to be concise and easy to read. Think about it. When you walk into a service, you're often anxious. You don't know where to sit. You don't know how long it will be.
You're in an unfamiliar space, emotionally and physically.
Exactly. The guide answers those questions. It provides structure to the grief.
But then it has to pivot completely.
Right. Then you have the second role, the tribute.
The storytelling.
This is the emotional storytelling. The photos, the life summary, the poems, the scriptures. This is the part that tries to capture the essence of the person.
And that takes up space. You can't capture an essence in 3 bullet points.
No, you can't. And this is where the guide and the tribute start to conflict.
Ah.
The guide wants brevity. The tribute wants depth. The guide just says, song, Amazing Grace. The tribute says, here are all the lyrics to Amazing Grace because it was her favorite song. And here is a paragraph explaining why she loved it so much.
Okay, so you have the guide, you have the tribute, and then you introduce the third role, the keepsake.
The historical record.
Yeah, this is the thing you pull out of that drawer 10 years later to remember not just the service, but the person. And the source material makes this really interesting point that the keepsake aspect is where the whole size issue really starts to get complicated.
It creates a massive design challenge.
Yeah.
A huge one. Because if you design strictly for the guide function, you end up with, what, a simple index card.
Right, just the facts.
But that fails as a keepsake. It feels cold. If it's too small, you lose the story. If you're cramming a life story onto a 4x6 card, you're editing out all the nuance.
You're losing the texture of that life.
That's a perfect way to put it. You might get the birth date and the death date, but you lose the dash in the middle.
But what about the other way? If it's too large, if you lean too hard into the keepsake aspect?
Then it can feel cumbersome. It might even feel excessive. There's a psychological weight to a large document that might not fit the personality of the deceased, or it might just be awkward to keep.
I hadn't thought about that.
You can't put a magazine in a standard memory box easily. It doesn't fit in a Bible. It's this constant balancing act between the immediate need of the service and the long-term need of the memory.
So let's talk about this specific format that seems to be taking over, the 8.5 by 10 booklet. When we say 8.5 by 10, what are we physically dealing with here?
So it's rooted in the standard U.S. letter paper, which, is 8.5 by 11 inches.
Right.
But usually in the professional printing world, this large booklet format often involves some trimming or binding that gives you a final product that feels very close to a standard magazine size.
So it's not just a folded piece of printer paper.
Not usually, no. Sometimes it is exactly 8.5 by 11 folded, but often it's cut down slightly to 8.5 by 10 to give it a specific aspect ratio that feels less like a corporate report and more like a publication.
So why is this specific size becoming the it girl of funeral stationery? Why are we seeing it everywhere?
It's the real estate advantage, plain and simple.
Real estate.
When you have that much surface area, you have options. You aren't restricted to just a front and back cover. You can do multi-page layouts. We're talking 4, 8, 12, sometimes even 16 pages. It allows you to sprawl.
That is a lot of room for content.
It allows for extensive biographical content. You could have the full life story from birth to death with all the milestones in between.
Yeah.
You could have photo collages and not just 3 tiny thumbnails, but big, clear images where you can actually see the faces.
That's a big deal. I've definitely seen programs where the photos are so small and pixelated you can't tell who is who. It just becomes a blur.
Exactly. In a large booklet, you can have written tributes from multiple family members. The grandchildren can write something. The colleagues can write something. It solves the content problem by simply providing a bigger container.
So you don't have to make those hard choices.
You don't have to choose between the poem from the daughter and the scripture from the pastor. You just add another page.
And what about aesthetically? Does it just look fancier?
It allows for what designers call typographic hierarchy.
Okay, break that down for us. What does that mean for the average person who's trying to put one of these together?
It means you don't have to shrink the font to size 8 just to fit the poem in.
Right.
You can use a nice readable 12 or 14 point font for the body text. You can have headers that are bold and distinct. You can have generous margins in white space.
And white space is luxury.
It is. It absolutely is. White space tells the eye where to rest. When a document is crowded, it feels chaotic and stressful.
Which is the last thing you want at a funeral.
Exactly. When it has white space, it feels peaceful and polished. It looks like a professionally produced magazine rather than a crowded flyer you'd get at a grocery store. It conveys a sense of calm, which is subliminally very, very important at a funeral.
And that brings us to the visual impact argument, because one of the things the source highlights, and I hadn't really thought about this, is the accessibility factor. We have to be honest about who is in the room.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Who is the primary demographic at many funerals? Often it's older adults.
Contemporaries of the deceased.
Right, people who might have presbyopia, aging eyes. Or just think about the environment itself. Churches, chapels, funeral homes.
They are famously not bright places.
They are designed for mood, for reverence. You have stained glass, dimmed lights, candles. They are not designed for reading fine print.
It's like trying to read a menu in a dark restaurant.
It's exactly that. If you have ever tried to read a menu in a dark restaurant, you know the struggle. Now imagine that restaurant is a church, you are crying, and the text is half the size.
So if you hand someone a trifold brochure with tiny text,
It's a functional disaster. It really is. They're squinting, they're reaching for reading glasses they might have forgotten, they're holding it up to the candlelight. It breaks the moment.
it pulls them out of the experience.
It pulls them out of the service and into a struggle with the paper. The 8.5 by 10 format allows for clarity, large text, high contrast. It removes that barrier. It allows the attendee to focus on the message, not the medium.
Okay, so it seems like the large booklet is the clear winner then. It looks great. You can actually read it. It holds everything. But, and there's always a but on this show.
There's always a but.
Let's pivot to the logistics, because this is where the dream meets the reality of 2.0 a.m. the night before the service.
Yes. The con side is bigger, always better, not when you have to pay for it, and certainly not when you have to make it yourself.
Let's start with the wallet. What is the financial reality of this format?
It's simple math, really. More paper, more ink, more finishing labor. If you are doing a multi-page booklet, you aren't just printing one sheet. You're printing multiple sheets. If you have a 12-page booklet, that's 3 sheets of paper, double-sided, folded in half.
And professional printing costs for booklets are significantly higher than for a simple card, right? I mean, it's not a linear increase.
Not at all. It's significantly higher. You're paying for the setup. You're paying for the staples in the industry. We call it saddle stitching. You're paying for the folding machine setup. You're paying for the trim. Yeah, if you want that magazine look, the printer actually prints it on larger paper and then cuts it down so the color goes all the way to the edge.
Ah, so that's how they do it.
It is. But that process generates waste, and you pay for that waste.
But here's the nuance the expert source points out that I thought was really smart. Cost isn't just about the dollar amount. It's about proportional value.
Exactly. It means, does the cost match the event? If you are having a very modest, intimate graveside service with 10 people, does it make sense to spend, say, $500 on glossy 12-page magazines?
It might feel a little out of place.
It might feel out of place. It might feel like the artifact is overpowering the event.
It's like wearing a tuxedo to a backyard barbecue.
Exactly. It creates a dissonance. But if you are having a grand celebration of a life that spanned 90 years and touched thousands of people, that cost is likely justified because the program is doing heavy lifting as a tribute.
So it's part of the memorial itself.
It's functioning as a biography for the community. In that case, spending the money on the program is effectively spending money on the memorial itself.
That makes sense. But let's talk about the scenario that really, really stresses me out just thinking about it. The DIY trap.
Oh, the DIY nightmare. This is where good intentions go to die.
It's so tempting, though, because the 8.5 by 10 relates to standard letter paper. People assume, hey, I have a printer, I have paper, I can do this.
It is a classic false security. You think, I print documents all the time. I print tax returns. I print recipes. How hard can it be?
Famous last words?
They are. Because printing a booklet is not printing a document. It is a completely different beast. It requires a level of precision that home office equipment is simply not designed for.
Let's unpack the stress multipliers, as the source calls them. I love that term. What actually goes wrong?
Oh, where to even start? Let's start with alignment. Double-sided printing, or duplexing as it's called, is the enemy of the home printer.
Why?
Even good home printers drift. The rollers that pull the paper through are not precision instruments. They are rubber wheels that get dusty and wear out.
So you print side A, you flip it over to print side B.
And suddenly the text is half an inch off, or it's crooked. When you fold that sheet of paper, the front page might look okay, but the back page text is sliding off the edge. You hold it up to the light, and you can see the lines don't match up. It just looks messy.
And speaking of edges margins, that's another one.
This is a huge one. Professional printers can print full bleed. That means the ink goes all the way to the edge of the paper. Home printers cannot do this.
Why not?
They physically need a little gripper to hold the paper as it goes through, so there is always a non-printable margin of about a 1/4 inch.
So you end up with that awkward white border around everything.
Right around your beautiful background design. Let's say you chose a lovely floral background that's supposed to cover the whole page. On a home printer, that floral pattern stops a 1/4 inch from the edge. leaving a stark white frame.
It immediately looks amateur.
Immediately. You can try to trim it off, but now you're hand trimming 100 booklets with a pair of scissors or a cheap paper cutter. That's hours of labor. And if your cut isn't perfectly straight, the whole book looks wonky.
And then the big one, pagination. This is the one that breaks people's brains.
The booklet math.
Yeah.
The technical term is imposition, and it's a mind bender. Think about it. If you take a sheet of paper and fold it in half to make a booklet, the front cover, which is page 1, is on the right side of the sheet.
Okay, I'm with you.
What is on the left side of that same sheet of paper?
The back cover.
Correct. The last page. So if it's an 8-page booklet, page 1 and page 8 are printed on the same side, the same piece of paper. Page 2 is on the back, next to page 7.
My head hurts just visualizing that.
It gets worse. If you have a 12-page booklet, the center sheet has pages 6 and 7 side by side, but the outer sheet has pages 1 and 12. You have to arrange your digital file in a completely nonlinear way so that when it is printed, folded, and stapled, it reads correctly.
And if you get that order wrong, or if your software doesn't automatically handle the imposition, which most consumer software does not.
You print 50 copies and realize page 3 is upside down and next to page 12. Or you open the book and the pages are completely out of order. You're reading the obituary and suddenly you're in the middle of a hymn. It's a disaster.
And you are doing this when? When is this happening?
This is happening typically 24 to 48 hours before the funeral. You are grieving, you haven't slept in 2 days, your house is full of relatives asking where the coffee is.
That is the most critical point. We are talking about doing a technical precision task during a period of extreme cognitive load and emotional distress.
It's a recipe for a breakdown. I've heard stories of people literally throwing printers across the room. I've heard of people running out of cyan ink at 3 a.m. and driving to 3 different 24-hour Walmarts trying to find the right cartridge.
And if the printer jams on that last copy.
It's not just an annoyance, it's an emotional hurdle. It feels like a personal failure. It feels like you're failing the person you're trying to honor.
Wow.
The source really emphasizes this emotional cost. It's not just about the money you save. It's about the cost of your sanity. Wasted time, wasted expensive paper, and the sheer frustration of fighting a machine when you should be with your family sharing memories.
It really paints a picture. You think you're saving money or being personal by doing it yourself, but you might be paying a huge emotional tax.
Precisely. And that's why the size matters so much for DIY.
Yeah.
A simple half fold, you can probably manage that. It's one fold.
Yeah.
A multi-page 8.5 by 10 booklet. You're inviting chaos into your house unless you really, really know what you're doing.
Okay, let's look at another cost. The environmental one.
The waste factor, yeah.
It seems obvious, but larger booklets consume more paper per attendee. That's just physics.
It is. And it's not just the final product that you hand out. It's all the hidden waste.
What do you mean?
The test prints, the alignment errors we just talked about, the misprints. Every time you print a copy and the colors are off or the fold is wrong, you throw it away. If you have to throw away 20 copies just to get your printer settings right, that's a lot of paper.
And for some families, that excess might just feel wrong.
Right. If the deceased was an environmentalist or just someone who valued simplicity and frugality, having a massive paper-heavy booklet might feel like a betrayal of their values.
That's a really good point.
I've been to funerals for people who were very earth-first, and seeing a glossy, non-recyclable laminate booklet felt jarring. It felt like the funeral director's choice, not the family's choice. For eco-conscious families, the smaller formats, or maybe digital hybrids, are much more aligned with who they are honoring.
Okay, I want to move to something the source calls the Pew test. This is the user experience part.
This is critical, and it's the part almost everyone forgets during the design phase. We design these things on a big computer screen, zooming in and out. We forget that it is a physical object that has to be held and managed in a specific environment.
I want you, the listener, to just imagine being at a service. You're sitting in a pew, it's a wooden bench, maybe a bit cramped, or maybe you're on a folding chair in a funeral home.
And you have your personal items, a purse, maybe a coat if it's winter. You have a tissue in one hand because you're crying. Maybe you're also holding a hymnal or a prayer book.
And then someone hands you a large, floppy, multi-page booklet.
Right. Now you have this magazine. What do you do with it? It slides off your lap. It covers the hymnal. If you stand up to hug someone, it gets crushed or drops on the floor.
Now let's take it outside. Imagine you're at a graveside service. It's windy.
The sail effect.
Exactly. A large surface area catches the wind like a sail. You are literally fighting the paper while trying to listen to the prayer. The pages are flapping, it's noisy.
Or what if it's standing room only? You don't have a lap to rest this thing on. Holding an 8.5 by 10 booklet open with one hand is physically difficult. It flops over. It requires two hands to read.
Which means you can't wipe your eyes.
I can't hold your partner's hand. You can't put your arm around your child.
Whereas a smaller program,
you can tuck it into a pocket. You can slide it into a purse. You can hold it with one hand easily. It's rigid enough to stay open. It's manageable. It respects the fact that your hands might be busy doing other things, like comforting someone.
So an 8.5 by 10 requires active management. It's another thing to worry about.
It is. It can feel heavy or awkward. And again, this doesn't make the size wrong. If you are seated in a comfortable sanctuary with plenty of space and good lighting, it's fine. But if you are standing on a windy hill, context is vital. You have to design for the environment, not just for the content.
So if the big booklet has all these potential pitfalls, let's look at the alternatives. The source calls these the Goldilocks sizes.
Right. Finding the one that's just right, not too big, not too small.
First up, the half fold. This is probably the one most people think of.
This is the 8.5 by 11 sheet folded once down the middle to make a 5.5 by 8.5 program. This is the reliable workhorse.
Why does this one work so well? What makes it the workhorse?
It perfectly balances space with simplicity. You get 4 distinct panels, the front cover, the 2 inside panels, and the back cover.
That's a good amount of space.
It's enough room for a photo, the order of service, a short obituary, and a thank you note from the family. It's compact.
And crucially, for our friends in the DIY crowd,
it is so much easier to print at home. The pagination is simple, front is front, back is back. If the alignment is off by a millimeter, it's usually not a tragedy. It's a very forgiving format.
So it's the safe bet.
It is. It's widely accepted. No one gets a half fold and thinks this is too small. It feels substantial enough without being overwhelming. It fits in a Bible. It fits in a standard envelope if you want to mail it to people who couldn't attend. It just works.
Okay, then there's the trifold. This is the classic brochure style.
The structured option. An 8.5 by 11 sheet folded into thirds, like a business letter or a travel brochure.
Pros and cons of this one.
The pros are that it gives you very clearly defined sections. It naturally segments the info. Panel 1, obituary. Panel 2, order of service. Panel 3, pallbearers. It organizes the information for you, which can be helpful. It forces you to be concise.
And the cons. I can see a few already.
It really limits your image size. You have these very narrow vertical panels. You can't put a big, beautiful landscape portrait on a trifold unless you span it across the folds, which usually looks weird and distorts the face.
Yeah, you end up with a crease right down the middle of grandma's nose.
Exactly. And text density is an issue. If you have a lot of text, it feels cramped very, very quickly. The columns are narrow. It's best for concise services where you just need the facts. It's not great for that tribute function we talked about earlier.
And then finally, the really small custom sizes, the 5 by 7 or the 4 by 6 cards.
The minimalist option.
Who is this for? When does this make sense?
This is for the short service or for a memorial where the program is strictly a memento. It's not really a guide. Maybe there is no formal order of service, or it's just spoken by the officiant.
So it's a keepsake card.
Exactly. It focuses on portability. You can put it in your shirt pocket. It's discreet. It's elegant. It says, we don't need a lot of words to remember this person. It's a statement of simplicity.
So we have these options, but we also have a choice in how we get them made. We touched on the horrors of DIY, but let's talk about the professionals. The source material mentions the funeral program site as an example of where people go for this.
Right. And there's a distinct value add when you call in the pros, especially specialized companies, not just your local copy shop.
And it's beyond just they have better printers.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, they have better printers. But they also handle the layout. They handle the paper stock, which makes a huge difference in how substantial a program feels. A pro will use a 100-pound gloss text or a heavy matte cardstock that you can't even feed through a home printer. The tactile experience is completely different.
But the real value, it seems, is the consulting aspect, the guidance.
Exactly. A professional can look at your content, your 3 pages of poems and your 50 photos, and tell you, you need a booklet. This won't fit on a card. Or conversely, they can look at your content and say, you know what, you don't have enough for a 12-page booklet. Let's do a beautiful, high-quality half-fold instead so it doesn't look empty.
They stop you from defaulting to the wrong size out of panic.
They do. They navigate the technical complexities so the family doesn't have to. And they provide quality control. No upside-down pages. No ink smears. They act as a buffer between you and that logistical nightmare we described.
Now, there is a third path, a modern compromise that I find really interesting, the hybrid solution.
Print plus digital. This is becoming increasingly popular, especially post-pandemic when we all got used to QR codes.
How does that work in practice?
So you print a small, concise piece, maybe that elegant 5x7 card or a simple half fold. That printed piece focuses only on the essentials, the order of service, the key info you need right now in the room, the hymn lyrics, the speakers.
Guide function.
Precisely. And the rest.
The tribute part.
The rest goes online. The extended biography, the photo galleries, the video tributes, the guest book. You put a QR code or a simple URL on the printed program.
That seems like it solves a lot of the problems we've discussed. It's kind of brilliant.
It does. It reduces printing costs. It reduces paper waste. But it preserves the richness of the content. You aren't cutting the story. You're just changing the medium where the story lives. In fact, you can have more content online.
That's true. You're not limited by pages.
You can have 1,000 photos. You can have video. You can't print a video in a booklet.
It's acknowledging that we live in a digital world, even in death.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it allows the story to be dynamic. People can add comments or their own photos to the digital version long after the service is over. The printed program is static. It is frozen in time. The digital memorial is living. It can grow as more people share their memories.
Okay, so we've looked at the formats, the logistics, the costs. Now I want to synthesize all this, because at the end of the day, this isn't a logic puzzle, it's an emotional decision.
It is. It absolutely is. And we have to talk about the psychology of size.
Does a big booklet imply a bigger life? Is that what's going on here?
For some people, yes, absolutely. There is a feeling that a substantial document, something with physical weight, something with many pages, conveys the importance and the gravity of the loss. It feels like you are giving them their due. It feels like an offering.
Like, look at all this life we have to record. Look at how much they mattered.
Exactly. It's a physical manifestation of grief and love. I spent this money and this time because they were worth it. It's the same psychology behind large monuments or expensive caskets. We use physical size to represent emotional magnitude.
But that's not the only perspective. It can't be.
No, not at all. For others, restraint is the ultimate compliment. Simplicity. A clean, beautiful single card can reflect a personality that was humble, direct, and didn't want to fuss.
So there's no universal right answer. It's not bigger is better.
No. It must align with the values of the family and, more importantly, the deceased. If your grandfather was a flashy, larger-than-life character who loved storytelling and being the center of attention, the big booklet fits. It feels like him. But if he was a quiet man who hated waste and valued utility above all else, the booklet might feel wrong. It might feel ostentatious.
Yeah.
It might feel like you didn't know him at all.
Let's give the listeners a checklist, a practical takeaway. If they are in this position, or helping someone who is, when should they give the green light to the big 8.5 by 10 booklet?
Okay, get your mental pencils out. Check these boxes. 1, do you have extensive written content? Poems, multiple tributes, a long biography. You need the words to fill the pages. If you only have a paragraph, a booklet will look like a mistake with too much white space.
Right.
2, is it photo heavy? Do you want a visual timeline of their life? You need space for images to breathe and be seen.
Okay.
3, is this intended as a long-term keepsake? Is this the thing you want people to keep forever as a book about their life?
A historical document.
Exactly. 4, are you using professional printing? If you're planning to DIY this, be very, very careful. And 5, are you prioritizing visual presentation over portability? Does it matter more that it looks like a magazine than that it fits in a pocket?
So if you check most of those boxes, go big.
Go big. Embrace the magazine format. Make it beautiful.
And when should you go smaller? When is the green light for the half fold or the card?
Okay, so the flip side. 1, the content is brief and focused. Order of service, short bio, that's it.
You are DIY printing under time pressure. Do not be a hero. Go simple. Save your sanity. Your family needs you to be present, not fighting with a printer.
That's a huge one.
3, budget constraints. Spend the money on food or flowers or something else instead. No one will judge you for a smaller program. 4, informal or outdoor settings. The wind factor. The standing factor. And 5, you prioritize convenience and simplicity above all else.
It's a great framework. It takes the emotion out of the decision so you can put all of that emotion into the content.
Exactly. The container shouldn't fight the content. The container should serve the content.
We're coming to the end of our deep dive here, and we've covered a lot of ground on a piece of paper most people take for granted.
We have. We've gone from paper cuts to psychological archetypes.
But I think what's clear, after all this, is that the program is a tool. It's a tool for honoring a life.
And that's the so what here. The choice shouldn't be based on what everyone else does. It shouldn't be based on assumption or a default setting. It should be based on intention. What are you trying to say? How do you want people to feel when they hold it?
It's about matching the medium to the message.
And to the moment. And to the
I
person.
want to leave you with a final thought. We live in an increasingly digital world. Our photos are on clouds, our letters are emails, our announcements are social media posts, even our money is becoming invisible. The funeral program is one of the last truly physical documents we create for a person.
That's so true. It's one of the last things that occupies physical space in the real world. It has mass. It takes up room.
Whether it's a giant booklet or a tiny card, it is tangible proof that a story happened. It's proof that a life was lived. And maybe the optimal size isn't about inches or paper stock or profit margins. Maybe the optimal size is simply the one that makes you pause, hold it in your hand, and remember.
I couldn't agree more.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. Take care of each other out there.